All right, good evening. This is the Rhinebeck Town Board meeting. This is the July 23rd, 2012 meeting, and we welcome you, and we'll start with a pledge. There's no Girl Scouts here, but we'll start anyways. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, tonight is a bittersweet board meeting. We are losing our retiring town clerk. She's retiring on August 24th, and this will be her last board meeting tonight. So we want to give her a couple of items for being with us for the past 22 plus years, right? So Barb, I have a plaque for you from our community. It's, of course, a picture of me.
I thought you were going to give her an old truck.
Yeah, we have a couple of those laying around, and a mower with that. So
I think we only have one.
That's Barb's.
Which hopefully won't lay around much longer. Go ahead.
So Barb, the Rhinebeck Town Board commends and thanks you on behalf of a proud community, for your distinguished service for over 22 years as town clerk, deputy town clerk, the zoning board clerk, and much more. So, for your commitment, compassion, and dedication to the people of Rhinebeck, we are indebted to you for your accomplishments that you have made to our community. And thank you very much.
Did we even give her a slice of watermelon?
Well, yeah.
Wait,
Oh, we
I
have
do
a-
have to have a picture.
We have some of the old town board members here, too.
Yeah,
So,
sure, just a supervisor.
Okay,
yeah.
supervisor, okay. Good. Like that. Mr. Kimball, don't you have a camera?
All right, so Barb will be with us till August 24th, like I said, but this is her last meeting, and it's a huge responsibility that she's had with us, and it's been good to know that we had somebody like her to leave our
Very nice.
town home in your hands.
Thank you.
So moving on for announcements. The Town Board of Assessment Review, Recreation, Web, Technology Committees are looking for new members. Please contact the town clerk, 876-3409.
Burning ban is pretty important, Tom.
Yeah, you have it in front of you?
No, is that on yours?
Burning ban from DEC? Oh, where are you here? Oh, gotcha.
We put it out on the web.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have the old agenda. It's on the web, but there's no burning ban through October 10th for the DEC, so that's for brush and tree and limbs and so on. That doesn't apply to my neighborhood because we have bonfires every night. So, but anyways, there's a no burning ban through October 10th from the DEC. Okay, October 6th is a hazardous waste disposal day at the town highway garage. This is getting kind of way ahead of ourselves, but for reservations, call the county at 486-7340, 486-7340. That's or www.dcrra.org, and then send your $5 check to them at, or you can just call Town Hall for that information. On July 28th, the landfill at the Stone Church Road will be open from 9 to 1 for the brush drop-off. So even though we can't burn, just bring your stuff to the landfill on Stone Church Road from 9 to 1. That's July 28th, sorry. As you can see behind me, we have the summer concert series in full swing with our rec department, and we've had 2 so far, and this is every Thursday night through August 16th at 6:30 at the rec park. So we have the Sawgrass Community Band next week, or this week. What's this, grass-fed? What is that, bluegrass? Coming up. Rat Boy Jr. is a family-oriented group. That's August 9th, and then August 16th will be the Matt Jordan Pop Trio. So every Thursday night, 6:30 at the Rec Park.
If this Thursday it's looking like it's going to rain, the alternate site is the auditorium at the high school.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
Great.
so that goes on no matter what.
I got a late call from the Brookmead family, or the Brookmead home. This is also known as the Baptist home. Brookmead will have a family fun day on August 19th from 12 to 5. It'll be like a fair sort of event for the kids and family. They'll have everything from lizards to a bike rodeo to child ID to all kinds of games and fun, and maybe some baseball games and so on. But anyways, you can call the Brookmead at 876-8536. 876-8536. That's the Brookmead Family Fun Day on August 19th. The Dutchess County Fair participation books are available here in Town Hall, so come and pick those up. Anybody else have anything else for announcements? Okay. All right. We have a presentation tonight for the Vandenberg Cove Sewer District contract from the New York State, the DEC, and we'll have Victor Cornelius here, our grant writer, and he'll update us on that and tell us where we are.
Yes, I think you have before you the long-awaited document. After a protracted negotiation process on the work plan and fundable elements of the project, we came down to construction costs, which is essentially really what the water quality improvement program would like to fund in the context of this grant, which I had originally based the request on a $1,900,000 budget. It's an 85% grant, so we were allocated $1,550,000. At the end of the day, the construction costs, largely because the scope of work became narrowed with DEC approval in the context of the period of time from October of 2009, when I submitted the application, and November of 2010, when the award was announced, which was a month after the work was, vast majority of the work was completed. And the town, being sensitive to the concerns of the homeowners that they were going to end up having to borrow the full amount, worked with the DEC to really restrict what had to be done in order to satisfy DEC requirements for the repair of the system. They also prefer not to fund soft costs associated with the project, and we went back and forth with them. There was some discrepancy in the context of the information they conveyed to us about that, with one end saying yes and the other end saying no. At the end of the day, the accommodation I got from them about a month ago was, given the fact that we wouldn't be accessing the full $1.55 million that was allocated in the grant, I said, would you mind if we went back, reviewed the situation, and extended the contract for another construction season through the end of 2013 in order to meet, in order to give the homeowners the opportunity of accessing 85% grant funding for any additional work that was felt that was needed to be done on the system. DEC agreed to that. We had a meeting here, what, about a month ago, Bruce? Yeah. With the homeowners, presented it to them, said, you know, DEC was prepared to go all the way for the 1.55 if there were additional aspects that they may have cut when they were trimming the budget, or anything that they felt from either an engineering or practical point of view could be considered a construction cost. After much discussion, debate, and deliberation, and with us leaving the room, they decided that they felt that it was better just to call it a day and bring the project to a close. And that was their choice and their decision. So with that, I submitted the final work plan to DEC, and you have your contract in front of you. The process following this is that Shelley will work to submit, and I also managed to extend the contract back to the year 2000, which was when the water quality improvement plan, program was initiated. So we have retroactive reimbursement for construction costs. They will not reimburse maintenance costs. The sludge removal, for example, is only a reimbursable cost during the period of construction. They do not want to pay twice for something that was remediated in 2002 and then subsequently replaced in 2010. That makes sense. Other than that, they're prepared to go back to 2000 and look at Shelley's invoices and see how we can maximize the construction costs associated with the project.
So there are two things. One, the construction cost, and then soft costs. That's the total universe of costs.
That's correct.
And we got no soft costs?
No, we received no soft costs. I had put them in the back and forth, and I can explain this to you, was that when I submitted
Can you
the...
explain what soft costs are for the public?
Yeah, engineering, both design and construction supervision. It's a mystery to me how engineering construction supervision could be considered a soft cost, but that they have declared it such. Any kind of legal, financial supervision, my cost as a grant writer.
How much are we talking about as construction cost?
1.2 million currently. Yeah, around 1.2 million.
Okay, and that we
Total
have
project
documented.
cost. This is also pending Shelley's submission
And what are how much are the soft costs?
we're ultimately, I believe, about 450,000.
And have they been paid
Yes.
by us as a bondholder for the Vanderbilt?
They actually, I believe, Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, they have come out of both in interfund borrowing and out of the construction pot that the wastewater system had maintained for several years.
Right, that's correct. And we don't owe anybody any payments, if that's what's being asked.
Yes, there's nothing, what is coming
But
now,
do the residents owe the town?
There's still an issue of some soft costs that were the 267,000 or whatever, and we as a board have to decide what we're going to do with that.
Beside the interfund borrowing, wasn't there some other borrowing here that has to be paid off, or is it all just interfund borrowing?
I think, are you referring to the EFC loan?
Yeah.
The grant portion will cover 85% of the construction costs and not the soft costs. What you have also to cap it off through the Environmental Facilities Corporation is a 30-year 0% loan that is providing that 15% match and covering the majority of the soft costs.
So we eventually have to pay back that loan.
Capital only.
How much is that loan, do you know?
It was originally for the full 1.9 million. But what is going to happen at the end of the day is you authorize the supervisor to sign this contract. Shelley processes the invoices through DEC. They look at it. They make sure that everything is approvable as a construction expenditure. And they have said to me by the end of the summer, they will either issue the town a check for 85% of the approvable construction costs, and we are currently thinking that the approvable construction costs are higher than 1.2 million. So you're looking at $1 million, $1.1 million, or they will simply reimburse EFC directly and lower your capital costs on that 0% loan.
But how much do we owe on this loan that we took out?
That will be seen at the end. That will be seen after we see what the grant will offset.
At the present time, how much do we owe them? There must be a number.
Well, I can't add it up in my head. It's it's $1,164 a year times 40 times 30.
You think it's less than $1 million too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, what really ended up happening here at the end of the day was the DEC was being accommodating about about the work that needed to be done. The homeowners pressed for the most efficient and effective way of meeting the requirements. So we're accessing a lot less of the grant than we had actually achieved.
And when we get the grant, we can pay off these interfund loans?
I think all the interfund loans are paid, is my understanding from Shelley.
Through the EFC.
Right, we got the money from the EFC.
Okay, so that just...
We had run down a lot of the funds with the interfund loans, and then at the end of the year, last year or the year before, it's all a fog right now, they came in with the money at the end of the year, and so we paid back all of those loans. So everything's been replenished. There's a little bit of money sitting there in the sewer capital fund, and that's the one we have to decide whether we want to, what we want to do with the soft costs, or whether we want to apply that to the EFC loan.
But that money lying there won't cover all the soft costs?
It actually is pretty close.
Oh.
Victor, for me, could you explain in simple terms
Sure.
what's the good news of this and what's the bad news of this?
The good news of it is that at the end of the day, the homeowners are probably coming out with an annual expenditure of, what did we calculate?
Including the operations,
Right.
it's $1,164 a year. We figured it was $264 a year approximately that they'd be paying for the loan.
That's correct. So they're ending up with, the restoration of their property values because they were paying in excess of $4,000 to $5,000 a year individually for their wastewater issues. So we've brought it down to a level that restores their property values and the viability of their wastewater system. That is the plus side. From a technological point of view, the current system has probably a 20 to 30-year life. I've advised them all that the team that's been working with them and the town should continue to move forward to explore new, greener, less impactful, less maintenance-heavy technologies as they emerge. This is a system that, the reason we got this grant is that this is a system, this is basically an enormous, two enormous septic tanks that are within 500 feet of the Hudson River and not terribly distant from the city of Poughkeepsie's drinking water intake. It would never be allowed to be built today. And they're going to have to replace it in 20 or 30 years. And in order to do that in an effective, cost-efficient, well-planned way, they need to start working with the town now. Those are the downsides. The other downside is we had a $1.55 million grant on a $1.9 million project, which has turned out to be more like $1.6 million, including soft costs, of which we are accessing $1 million to $1.1 million in a grant. So we're losing the accessibility to maybe $400,000 in grant money, but it was their choice not to proceed with any additional construction work. So, and I think that was appropriate.
Thank you.
Bruce,
So-
when you say, I'm sorry, that's for us as a town board to decide, what do you mean?
It was at some point in time before I think any of us were involved, the town basically loaned the special district money. And the attorneys through the years have gone and talked to the state and found different options that we have. We can legally, supposedly forgive the whole thing. We can split it, prorate it, or ask to collect the whole. It's what we want to do. We'll have to go back and get with the attorney again. But it's at our discretion how we dispose of
This
this.
is something we should put on an agenda for a future date?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we hadn't gotten to the point where we could do that yet.
Right.
Well, I think what you have to do is you have to wait for the check from the grant
Yeah.
to see exactly where you are at the end of the day. I mean, I think it's not a bad fiscal situation actually for a very difficult and complicated emergency situation.
Thank you, sir. Oh,
Any
there's a question. Heinz has one.
Hi.
Heinz, just speak at the mic, please.
Heinz Sauer. I live on Stortini Drive in the village. A question I have is that potential $400,000 that you're talking about is going to be capital kind of money, I assume. And that needs to be addressed over the next few years, or this year, or how?
Budget cycle, I would think.
I'm sorry?
The next budget cycle, I would think.
Well,
Yes, but the question is,
No,
we're not going to pay
Heinz,
it off in one shot.
Let him in.
No, the 400,000 is what we walked away from. We decided we weren't going to spend any more money, so we walked away from that. That's what he was saying.
Right, but the bill is still there.
Yeah, but that-
No, it's not.
The bill's not there because they didn't incur the costs.
We
That's
could
why we're
have,
not accessing the grant.
so what you're saying is we could have done additional work, but it was decided we would not do additional work, so we don't get the 400,000.
That's correct. And it was decided by the homeowners not to do the additional work, largely because there were a couple of issues. They could have opened up the engineering again, which is a cost they would have had to have incurred, and any additional construction, they would have had to pay an additional 15% out of the 30-year 0% loan. In fact, EFC was prepared to extend their contract as well. But it was basically felt that the work was done. They didn't want to have to engage a construction environment anymore, and it was their choice. And at the end of the day, they're paying the bill on the soft costs and the 15%, and so that makes sense.
Well, the soft costs of 300,000 or so have been paid, basically by us. Is that correct?
Well,
It's
some of
been
them have been paid out of the EFC loan, which the homeowners alone will pay. I believe and I know my costs were paid out of the EFC loan, because EFC's always paid my costs.
At this point, it's really that 267,000 plus there's another little one around someplace. That's what we have to figure out. That's still carried as a loan to the district. So that's what we have to decide.
But there's no additional cost to the town anymore at this point from the
No.
medical.
No.
Right.
Any other questions?
No. Thank you.
Goodbye, Victor.
I want to hear the vote.
Yeah, we'll have a,
Got a public hearing first.
we will, why don't we bring that item up to, ahead of the others, the hearing and so on, and item one for business, ahead of the public hearing will be the authorized supervisor to sign contract number C304417 for the Vandenberg Cove Sewer North and South Field Treatment Systems, replacement up to 85% of $1.9 million, in parentheses, $1,550,000. That's the Water Quality Improvement Program grant from the DEC with New York State DEC. So we need a motion and second to authorize.
Motion.
Second?
And does the contract call for a roll call? I don't have it. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
It
Opposed?
is roll call, but we all said aye.
Barb, we're going to have to let you go.
She's gone.
Page. Oh, sorry. So I just got in from Pam, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it by roll call then.
Yeah, sorry.
You have
Motion made by Bruce, seconded by me. Roll call.
Councilman Gelb,
Aye.
Councilperson Fox,
Aye.
Councilperson Spenzia,
Aye.
Councilwoman Washburn.
Aye.
And Supervisor, aye. It's so moved.
Thank you.
So we are going to move back to the public hearing for proposed local law number 3 of 2012 for the town clerk residency requirements. And you want to bring this up?
Pardon me?
You want to handle this?
Yeah, let me just introduce it. This would be a local law to override the requirement in the state statute that the town clerk has to be a resident of the town. I'm making this motion to approve the law because we want to widen, at least I think we should widen the pool for potential applicants. Doesn't mean that we have to hire outside of the town. It just gives us more flexibility to hire the best candidate.
So you motioned?
But wait,
Okay,
we need to hear
have
from the
public
public.
hearing first. We can't make the motion.
Okay.
You have to have the public hearing and hear from the public first. That's the whole point of the public hearing. There's no point in
All
voting.
right, so motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
So we have a public hearing open. We're open for comment from the public?
Paul Niederkorn, I live at 132 East Market Street in the Village here, and I was on the town board for 8 years. From my experience on the town board, I realized by the time it gets to public hearing stage, a local law or whatever is probably a fait accompli, unless people show up with pitchforks and torches like they did with the events law over in the village, and I don't see any pitchforks and torches. So I'll just give you some thoughts I have about changing the law. Personally, I like to have my government officials, especially the elected ones, living in the community of which they serve. Now, I understand that the clerk doesn't, but generally the clerks do. I think Rhinebeck is a true anomaly in that the clerk here is appointed, and therefore I assume the implication there that the clerk really is required or should be required to live in the community. And another thing that irritates me is people running for office, like I think they can for state offices, where you don't have to live in the district until after you get elected. That rubs me the wrong way. Anyway, I think the intent of the state law is that the clerk, now, after reading the preamble to the law here, the question that I have in my mind is, how did this come about? I mean, the clerk was an elected official. At some point in time, the clerk became an appointed official. And now, because I guess it was saying that some are elected and some are appointed, you don't even have to adhere to the other requirements of the law, which would be that the clerk lives in the district, in the municipality. What comes to my mind is, now, can we somehow make a local law saying that the council people don't have to be elected and can be appointed? And then after that, we can say the council people can live in another municipality? But anyway, I'm just curious as what the evolution of this was. So the intent, in my opinion, is to have the clerk be a resident. Another consideration is continuity. We have Barb here, and thank you for your service, Barb, 22 years. And Barb has been a member of the community and a clerk for 22 years. One of the problems and difficulties with local government is the lack of continuity. We elect new people, we get new people working for the municipality, and many things are really not documented that well. And many people who are elected don't really go back and read all the previous documentation to know what happened, and we do rely on the continuity. And to me, it seems more reasonable to have someone from the community who at least knows the community and what has been happening in the community, hopefully, if they want that kind of job. Also, I really enjoy having access to town board members and people who work in for the municipality. In the sense I can run into them on the street, I can see them in the post office, in the local restaurants, wherever. And with a little effort on my part, I can get to know these people and to talk to them personally, one-on-one, without coming to a formal meeting to do that. Another thing that I've run into in the past, that I've seen people sitting outside, a committee or whatever, who for some reason the door wasn't left open to town hall, and they were sitting on the picnic bench and couldn't get a hold of anybody to open the town hall. Now, having a clerk in the municipality adds one more person who would be able to call up and come in, because there have been times when we just couldn't get a hold of anybody to come and open the town hall for a meeting or for whatever purpose. Also, there's allegiance to the community and knowledge of the community. One of the things that happened to us, and this is before we ever got involved in the community to the degree we are in politics, is one night Carol Bird, who was the clerk in the assessor's office, called up. I live with Brenda Klaproth, I don't know if you know that or not, but I do. And her mother had recently purchased a house in the village. And Carol Bird, being the clerk, the deadline was coming up for applying for the tax exemption for the elderly. And so Carol Bird actually called somebody she didn't really know to say, make sure you get your mother's application in. I do believe if we hire somebody from outside of the municipality, outside of Rhinebeck, you won't get that kind of attention. Also, people who live in this municipality probably are aware that there are some addresses that say Rhinebeck that really aren't Rhinebeck, like Forest Park up by the bridge, and also out in the town of Clinton. And there are people, I understand, who come and use our recreation facilities and show their identification, and it says Rhinebeck, who really maybe live in Hyde Park or Clinton or Red Hook. Now, somebody who lives in the municipality would probably understand by looking at the address often that that really isn't Rhinebeck. But somebody from outside our municipality probably wouldn't. Also, I am much happier to pay my taxes to somebody who lives in our municipality and their salaries rather than to somebody who lives in another municipality. And unless there are really compelling reasons, I really can't say that I would be in favor of changing this law. As Joe said, the main advantage is it broadens the pool. But what it also not only broadens the pool, it also allows more political nepotism across community lines or boundaries or whatever. So I would just as soon not see this law passed. Thank you.
My name is Meg Tedisco, and I live in Rhinebeck via the hamlet of Rhinecliff. And I would just like to encourage the board to go really slow on any thoughts about changing this requirement. I want to second everything that Paul said. And I'm troubled that there seems to be a consideration that requiring a resident to be the town clerk or not is saying that there's a distinction without a difference. I happen to think there's a big difference for many of the reasons that Paul stated about knowledge of the community, knowledge of the community's history, that may not be apparent in some of the more recent correspondences and documents and everything. And somebody with that kind of a history can say, oh yeah, that happened 15 years ago, and so-and-so was involved, maybe we can call them and find out what happened. I understand the concerns for the size of the pool, but I think you can address that without changing the regulation now. Right now, you're talking about acting because of a fear. You don't know that you're going to get that small a pool. So I think if you put in the advertisement that non-residents will be considered if an insufficient pool of residents should come about, that the board is not comfortable with the size of the pool or the quality of the pool, then you can sit down and think it through a little bit more look at the history of why that, as Paul said, was put in there in the first place, give it due consideration, but in the meantime, be able to move forward with getting applications from other people outside the town as well. Nobody wants to go through two different processes. Nobody wants to pay for that kind of advertisement or sift through just this pool of applicants and then that pool of applicants. So get them all in the house, but don't change the regulation unless you know and you all agree, having looked at the pool, oh yeah, we do need to do this. We couldn't get sufficient numbers. So I just really encourage the board to go slow.
Continuity. Do any of us know why Barb was appointed instead of elected?
I don't know why Barb was appointed or elected, but there are two different ways in New York State that you can either be an appointed or an elected town clerk. 20% of the towns in New York State are appointed, and appointed clerks have no residency requirement.
I was under the understanding they had to pass a local law to do that.
It's state law that says that there's no residency requirement. We are having one, I believe, I don't know that we have one, a local law on the books, but state law does not require residency for an appointed officer. That goes for
well,
clerk.
That may be, but the last time I looked at the law about the officers, the clerk was an elected position, and it's my understanding that because of a municipal home rule, which came in later, you were able to
63.
pass a local law to override that.
I don't know what the history of it here in Rhinebeck is, but I'd just like to add one other thing, and we haven't voted on it yet, but something for consideration. None of our other appointed officers here in Rhinebeck, that's the CEO, the ZEO, and the court clerks, have a residency requirement. So there's a lack of consistency in policy.
I don't believe those were ever elected positions, though.
It doesn't matter. They're appointed officers. So that's what we're talking about, appointed versus elected. Elected have to be electorates and appointeds don't. So we have a lack of consistency across the board. Something to consider.
Dennis McGuire, Rhinebeck. Along with Paul, I would like to see our clerk, as someone who lives in the town, has chose to move here, has chose to pay the taxes here, and live in our community and be part of it, and be able to be spoken to in the street, or if you have a problem, you can get a hold of, always got a hold of Barbara and the other clerks before Barbara. I also, I'm reading this, it says we encounter substantial difficulty in engaging a qualified town resident. Where was this law advertised? Did it go out to the field for advertise the position?
What are you referring to?
Right here.
Well, the law itself, it says that we encountered substantial difficulty in engaging qualified town residents. I mean, has this even been advertised yet?
It's not advertised yet, no.
Well, then we don't know if we had difficulty finding somebody, do we?
We're up against the gun because Barbara is retiring at the end of August. The ad has to run. We have to vet the candidates. So we really don't have a great deal of time here. I think we have a timeline that the ad should be responded to by mid-August. There may be a lot of applications. We just don't know what we're going to get, and ideally we probably should have advertised before now, so there would be some overlap with Barbara. So I think we're starting off, frankly, behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, this to me is a little misleading then, that we encounter substantial difficulty, which I don't want to dwell on it all night, but
Well, I think it's
why is it
more-
out there?
I think it maybe is more that we want to have the widest pool from the first go, just like Meg was saying. You can give great consideration to people who are residents, just like we do in the Rhinebeck School District when we interview for principals and teachers. We always interview the Rhinebeck residents first. And I've been through that process many times. And I think that that's, so maybe that wording is maybe not the best. Maybe it's that we don't want to encounter a small pool from the very beginning, or we're afraid of encountering a small pool at the beginning. Maybe that's presumptive, but I think that's what it's speaking to.
Well, I know I'm reading here, so another point I have down here is number 2, section 2. It says that the town of Rhinebeck is located or in the adjoining county of Columbia County. Why did we pick Columbia County? Is there somebody in Columbia County that we are looking at?
That's
No,
me. That's
I think that's a mistake.
Because I was wondering, if you're going to go to Columbia County, why wouldn't you also include Putnam County and Ulster County?
It was an error.
It was
Okay.
adjoining counties,
Okay.
is what it should be.
All
Thanks
right.
for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Any further comments?
I would like to just say that we're very fortunate to have had Barb here for 22 years. It's not often in today's mobile society that you get somebody that stays in a position for over 2 decades. And I have to say that I don't know, although I know her grandkids and all of that, I don't know that she was born here. And I have to say that when she started in this position 22 years ago, I dare say that she knew everyone's history that came in to the office, and that that's something we have to give everybody the ability to accomplish the same things that she accomplished over 22 years. That's just my thought.
That's one last question. Based on what Elizabeth said, do you actually need to have a law?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because there are 2 different types of clerks.
Right, but I thought you said that it didn't.
That the appointed a clerk within the state general municipal law does not require residency, but it's on our books as such, so we need to change it.
Oh, it's on the town's
Yes.
books. Thank you.
Yes.
Let me just make one correction. What you have here is not the law that was advertised. The actual law that we're having a hearing on tonight is not confined to Columbia and Dutchess. It's that the town clerk can come from anywhere.
What was in the paper actually said that the person holding the office of town clerk in the town of Rhinebeck need not be a resident or elector of the town of Rhinebeck.
Can be anywhere, not just an adjoining county
Yeah,
or town.
it's just, that was an old one that I must have. Daily.
I'm sorry?
Haley Friedman.
And I think it's on the website too.
Yes.
Haley Freeman. Bill Kimball, shout out.
So what we're really voting on is the text that Barbara read,
Right.
not, and that change was made at the request of one of the town board members.
Any further public comments?
I'm a little confused now. Is this the law that was published, what's in here, or is the law what was published, what Joe read? And
One statement at the end, section 2.
And
Published.
doesn't the public hearing have to be on the law that was published, or else you have to have another public hearing?
No,
Or
it's
is
the
there not
same.
enough
No,
difference in the
wordage
law to
is
make
the
a
same.
difference?
Paul, the wordage is the same everywhere except under section 2. That's what was in the paper.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm just talking about, I think, a legal technicality. Doesn't the public hearing have to be on the law that was published?
It was public.
It was
It
published.
was. When Barbara did this agenda and typed
So
it
the
up, she
agenda
hit the wrong
is-
key.
All right.
So we are holding the hearing on
On what was
the law
published.
that was published.
All right.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. So,
Joe?
moving on to business, we'll make a motion to vote on the proposed local law 3, 2012.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion from the board?
Yeah, I've got several things. I can understand, as I said before, the motivation for this, that this is a safety net if the pool isn't big enough. There is no requirement for us to vote on this after the public hearing tonight. So I would ask that we table this, or suggest that we table this until we see the pool of candidates. We've had the public hearing, we can then vote on it at that time if we need it. I think doing it the way it is presumptuous, and as I said before, I don't think it's in line with the character of the community. The second part is the tax collector. We're advertising for a town clerk. The law talks about the town clerk, but the tax collector is, right now, we have to go through the same process for the tax collector. And so we would have to split those jobs for a period of time if we continue with this. So again, I would prefer that we table the vote until we need it.
I would just like to reiterate that I feel really strongly that, first of all, I of course would prefer to hire somebody from the community, but history and knowledge, if it were a new resident, I'm a new resident and I'm serving on the town board and serving willingly, and I love serving. I don't have the history that other people up here have, and that's prejudicial. I'm learning and I'm embracing it. So to say that knowledge is a requirement, that comes with time, and that's something that's, you know, I have other strong things to offer, so I want to put that out there. Secondly, I really feel that there's a lack of continuity within the town on residency requirements for appointed officers. The code enforcement officer, the zoning enforcement officer, and the court clerks are all able to serve. They're appointed officers, and they do not have a residency requirement. I think it's prejudicial to assume that the town clerk should have to be a resident and these other offices not have a residency requirement. I'm looking at this from a standpoint of equality on how the other appointed offices are handled. So that's what's speaking to me. And of course, I would prefer to have a resident.
Bruce, I understand what you're saying about the tax collector, but we have a few months to adjust that accordingly as well. That should not affect our ability
It
to
won't,
make a
yeah.
decision
We
on
could
this
have a
right now.
residency requirement passed on the tax collector by September, and I think tax
Or
collect seasons.
November.
Yeah,
So,
But the advertisement is for clerk and tax collector,
yeah.
which are now two separate jobs, and what we're advertising for is a consolidation into one job.
Yes.
So what are we interviewing for?
But
we're interviewing for both, and then we'll,
We got to also consider the registrar, and that's required by law to be a resident. I don't know if that can be changed or not, but that's a third position we have to include in this also, which Barb has that title here. There's a third position that we got to look at, and there may be even more.
Well,
So,
that doesn't mean that the registrar couldn't be someone that's already in the town hall that is a town resident, is that
sure.
correct?
Well, yeah, we'll have to
So-
adjust that.
You don't want to just have one person in this building be a registrar. You've got to have backup. There's too many births through
Right.
S in this town.
Right. No, I understand. I'm just saying that that's not a reason to vote against this local law.
Well,
I don't think there's time to table it, and I think we ought to vote on the motion.
I'm fine with voting.
Well, I'll say, you know, the village, I think, advertised out of the town village. Am I correct on that, or no? They had over 90 applicants. That's substantial. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. We should see who we have in the town and then go outside. I think we're not talking about completely throwing this thing out the door, but we should at least see who we have as applicants in the town. We have a substantially diversified, talented community, and I have confidence that somebody here is capable of doing this job.
I totally agree with you, Tom, but that isn't, we're not precluding that. We're not precluding anybody from the town from applying. And in fact, I hope everyone does apply from the town. But this doesn't preclude that.
Let me ask a strange question then. Suppose we do hire the town clerk, tax collector, registrar position, and we had already passed the non-residency. Will we go back and remove that?
No.
Why?
Why would we?
Why?
What do we do about the other offices that don't have the residency requirement? Shouldn't there be a consistency throughout the government?
Those are not required positions. They're not part of the fundamental government. There's a list of.
I think the CEO and the ZEO are.
I believe.
And the court
clerks. Not. I believe if you read the public officers thing, I think there's a certain list. The town clerk's one of those. Highway superintendent's one. The council people, supervisor, justice.
Well, we are elected, so we have to be.
I know, but there's a list of certain ones, and they're classified differently than some of the other positions. All right, so we know where we are here.
Well, I gotta say that, I think we waited and we were sensitive to our current clerk's needs, and we didn't push forward an agenda in deference to being sensitive, and this is a covering ourselves motion, and I think that has to be acknowledged.
Mark's leaving in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
A little over 3 weeks.
I just put forward a timeline and a job description, and it could have been done months ago.
So I think the motion's on the table, we need to vote. With all deference to the supervisor.
So we do have a deputy clerk in office still that can handle the position until we do hire somebody. That's just the alternative to worrying about being under the gun. That's just my counter argument to that. Any further comments on the board? You want to take a... So the motion is to pass local law number 3, 2012, right? And it's seconded, and we shall do that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's aye.
Nay.
So 3-2, that will pass.
Bruce and Tom, nay.
Okay. So we'll advertise that,
Tomorrow?
yeah.
The job description that I wrote up will be on the website tomorrow as well, and I think we are voting on what I submitted, and this will be run, Barb.
How long do you want it run for? A week?
I think 1 week is our timeline. We were
So
hoping
you're going to receive the applications, right?
Barb
Barb?
is.
Yeah, okay.
And then when Barb leaves, we'll make
Okay.
other arrangements. It could come to one of us.
And there's no real application, it's just resumes being sent in?
Resume and a cover,
Right.
your resume.
Okay.
This is the part you want me to put in?
Yes,
In the
please.
ad. Okay.
And Joan I'll have her put it on the website tomorrow. She's ready to do that.
Now, are we all set on the wording of the ad?
Yes, we just discussed that. It's what was circulated.
All right, all set?
Number 2.
Item 2 for business, the motion to approve abstract 7. Those are vouchers 654 through 777, the amount of $198.77.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have 2 questions. They may seem picky, but it's sort of based on policy. There's a refund on swim lessons. Do we have a policy on refunding? And the the summer director, did you see that one, had said that the resident or the person, I don't even know if they're a resident, asked for a refund, but with no reason.
Was that the check on hold?
No, I don't think so. It was a $50 check. It's not the amount, it's the policy that I'm questioning. Do we have a policy for refunding?
We had a documented policy, I'm not sure that it's up to date, on refunds, and if it was something that was avoidable, you didn't get a refund. If it was something that was unavoidable, you got a refund.
Right.
We need to update that, but we're going to find out from the audit that we need to update a lot of our policies. In this case, I believe that the person was dissatisfied with the management of the swim lesson class.
The memo that I read, and you could be right, from our director of the rec said no reason was given, so I pulled it. And
I spoke to the cashier.
Oh.
That's what she told me.
The other one was, and this, again, it sounds so picky, but it's a policy question. Have we always paid for lifeguard swimsuits?
Yeah, it's part of
I
rec.
had that question too, because I just bought uniforms for my boys to work. And when I was a lifeguard, and this was when we had like
Million years ago.
pantaloons and that long thing, but we always had to buy our own suit because that suit goes with you. No one wants to wear the same suit. It's not like a pool of suits that people wear. And that was part of the thing when you were hired. So I know it's not a huge amount, and I have to commend the new director in that she actually lowered that cost by about half of the last time. But I think that most kids are used to paying for their uniforms, whether it's white tuxedo shirts to weight or polo shirts. I just think that we shouldn't be paying for that.
Well, I believe that this has changed through the years. It used to always be that those were provided and that the camp staff got shirts so that you could see who they were. And I think it's in line with the uniform allowance that the different departments have.
For union, you mean?
No, it has nothing to do with union.
But I'm saying, what other departments have uniforms?
The cemetery, maintenance, highway, and I believe perhaps the transfer station, I'm not sure, they have a uniform allowance.
And there's T-shirts for the camp. I was just asking policy. It seems like we have a loose policy where we do supply it. That's fine. I'd like to table the other one, the refund, based on a policy review, unless you think that's excessive.
But as to the uniform, that money has been expended already, so I don't think we can change this year, even if, assuming we even wanted to, and I don't know if we
It'd just be nice to tighten up our policy.
So then it's some discussion we probably ought to have at budget time
exactly,
for
budget issue.
next year.
Fine.
So you want to table the $50 refund on item 2, and that's the only item, right?
I think so.
Okay. Well, accept that all.
Just as a policy objection, yeah.
Where is it on the abstract?
Oh, gosh, I'll find it for you. Do you need it right this second?
It's actually very few refunds that we ever have to do, and usually there's a good, really?
Last year,
I only saw 3 so far, at least.
Here.
this year is low, but relatively in previous years,
It's like 6.
we've been $3,000-4,000 we've been given back.
I think we should, I think it's like once you sign and you commit, you're committed.
That slot is held.
Slot is held, our budget funds are encumbered, staff is hired. We're running this thing on a shoestring and Bruce's sweat, and the goodwill of the staff.
Okay. Would we approve that?
Sorry?
Was that approved?
Which?
The whole thing?
No, we're holding over that.
Well, all
one
in favor,
refund.
aye, pending, except for the $50 refund, right? So all in favor, aye?
Wait. There's one more thing. I had asked Shelley to hold the grant writers check.
I saw that, yeah.
I don't know whether it's in here or not.
Yeah, I added it at the end, Endeavor.
Okay, so, and based on
Waiting for the,
that we signed this tonight, that it gets paid, not before it gets signed, so that can go.
Right.
Okay.
so we're holding back two to.
No, we're
check.
not holding it because we agreed to
No.
sign it.
So we're
Okay.
approving $140,048.77.
Minus $50.
Minus
No, that is minus $50.
Okay.
Got it.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 3 is motion to approve capital project abstract for 7/34/12 for $3,890.70. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 4 is motion to approve the budget transfers.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I don't know what these are.
I have to abstain. I didn't get to read them before I
There were a lot.
voted.
There wasn't anything major. There was just a few, one bill was like $16 over, and so.
Shelley explained it to me briefly, but I didn't get to see them. I didn't get to my email until late
I
tonight.
think it's basically because we changed the unemployment insurance
I think it's
carrier.
the workman's comp,
So-
the workman's comp.
Workman's
And she
comp,
put a
right.
lot of lines in and relined it, and it's looking much more elegant, but I didn't get to look at it, so I
Right,
feel
that's-
odd about voting on it.
So this is fundamentally because we changed the policy.
Right.
Policy,
okay.
the policy
Carrier.
carrier rates people differently, and
Right.
that's how we get a lot of
It's gonna be
savings.
Much more streamlined.
Right, and she assured me that this carries out the cost savings that we expect to realize.
Okay.
All right.
Aye.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Are you
So
voting
moved.
against?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain, 4-0. Okay.
Item 5 is a motion to approve the docking of the Clearwater Sloop at the Rhinecliff Dock for August 9th, 22nd, and the 5th. Motion and second.
Motion?
Second.
Is the committee aware of this?
I cleared this with Bobby, and he said that those dates were fine.
Yeah, I mean, this hasn't been discussed by the waterfront committee. But that's, I mean, we have large ship docking rules, but this is okay. The only comment I will make is if we want to get to Clearwater for anything, we have to pay. And they're getting this for
Are
free.
they planning on any event or anything there?
Yeah, they have a whole schedule in here.
I think it's great to have that ship
I think
down
it's
in the,
great, too.
yeah.
It is great, but, you know, it's,
So how can we capitalize on it? Welcome them with open arms and publicize it.
okay.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
So the Clearwater's going to be at the dock August
9,
9, 22nd, and
22nd
September 5.
5th. Item 6 is a motion to appoint Ed Matuk, our building administrator, or building inspector, sorry about that, as the flood plan administrator per the DEC suggestions. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Well, before we do that, let me ask this question. Where did this come from?
It came from DEC. Homeowners evidently are being required to have a letter from a floodplain administrator saying that their home is not in the floodplain, and the building inspector really doesn't have the power to do that, so the DEC is suggesting that make the building inspector also the floodplain administrator.
So who put this on the agenda?
I did.
Oh, okay.
And we got a letter from the DEC asking us to
Ed
appoint
has some
somebody.
information
Asking us
downstairs
to
on
appoint
it,
a
yes.
flood plan administrator.
In looking at other towns, several towns have different budget items for this. So I don't know whether there's additional cost to this.
I told him there wasn't probably any additional salary. That's for you guys to discuss the budget. I mean, he's not expecting anything now.
So what he would do is certify that a piece
There are
of property.
floodplain maps downstairs in that bookshelf. And he can then certify that he's looked at C25 of whatever, and as floodplain administrator, insurance companies will honor it.
Have you talked to Ed? Is he okay with this? I
Yes.
have.
He's the one that brought it up.
Oh, okay.
He can't do it right now.
Do we collect a fee? Will we collect a fee for this?
And could we?
No.
Well, again, why don't we decide that at budget time as to whether we want?
You good with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, so all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 7 is motion to appoint a Zumba instructor. That would be Gina Fox. Sorry. Zumba instructor
I'm getting ready.
C. Flowers at 75% of the attendance fees collected at payable August 3rd and August 31st. Do you know Zumba?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Well, but just for discussion, is this the way we usually pay?
No, what we used to do is we had $695 or something like that we allocated and we paid. And if people didn't show up, they got paid the $695. This is more of a contingency approach. If people show up, then the instructor gets a count or gets a significant portion of it. Saves us money.
Where is she doing it, here in Town Hall?
Pool. This is Aqua Zumba.
Oh, Aqua Zumba.
So she collects the money and tells us how much?
No, the cashier collects it, and then it will be payable to her on those 2 dates.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. We have the same for the aqua aerobic instructor to appoint Lisa Hartwell at the same 75% of the attendance fees collectible August 3rd and August 31st. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
All in
This
favor?
is the same deal.
Aye.
Yeah.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's so moved. Item 9 is a schedule for the seasonal recreational staff, and we need a motion and second to...
Motion.
Second?
I think these are
Questions?
changes, most of them. We've approved a lot of these positions already.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
And so I think these are changes, like some of these people, the ones we approved didn't take the jobs. So these are the people that were hired in replacement for that.
So these are, it's not pay raises and it's exactly...
No,
It's not going to affect the budget at all.
No, it's what the prices are the same as the last time. The names are different.
No additional people.
No,
Okay. That was up to my own.
but I thought we approved the cashiers before, so. Oh, well. Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 10 is a motion to approve the town clerk hiring timeline.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Item 11 is a transfer station contract. You want to talk that, Bruce?
Motion.
Second.
Any comments on that?
You want to give us the short?
Yeah, just some questions I have for Bruce. That I gather the town still, if it chooses, may charge a user fee.
Yeah, that's one of those gray areas. In the contract, it says that it's fees or permits, and in my mind, I had been thinking that would go away once they took it over, but we could, since it's still there and the way that the contract is worded, we could still use it as to collect registration and issue the stickers.
Right, conceivably we may want, because this does not cover our costs.
Right.
I don't have a position yet, but could you ask Pam to make it clear in the draft that the town has the right to charge a permit fee?
How would we make sure that people who are getting access had these stickers?
Well, presumably we would ask the licensee to check, and maybe that's a good point. I think when Pam puts it in the contract, we have to have a provision saying that they will only allow people who have permits if we have a permit policy to leave stuff at the transfer station. So if you could ask her for that.
Can you do that, Barb? Can you? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, I didn't have enough time to read through this to get my head around all the things, but that to me was a gray area as well. And I think if we're going into this, the less gray areas, the better.
Okay, I have a number of other questions, if I can go down my list.
Sorry.
The way I read the contract is the compensation to the town is $100 when it's signed, and that covers 3 years. And after 3 years, if it's renewed, another $100. Plus, they're going to pay us $115 a month. Am I reading that correctly?
For the electric. It was.
Well, I asked her to broaden it because the electric may be more, may be less, and I don't want to give up any of that $115.
No, the basis, and it was from you, it was to amortize the cost of the NYSERDA project.
Right, but that's not
what,
electric. The electric could be read as the bill we get from Central Hudson.
Well,
so Pam and I have agreed, I'm just saying on some language to make it a flat $115 a month.
Okay.
Is there any equipment that they're getting? Like I'm thinking about the truck and the forklift.
They don't want any of that.
Okay.
Compressor, the compactor?
The compactor they're getting, that, or they're getting the use of?
Yeah, they're getting the use of it, but they're not keeping it.
Okay.
The cardboard compactor, they're not going to use at all.
On the equipment, though, again, I would ask Pam, or you could, since you're dealing with her, to just make clear they don't get the forklift and the truck, and we can figure out what to do with those 2 items. They say that in the contract they'll adequately staff the transfer station. But don't we want them to have at least 2 people there at all times that it's operating? Should we put in a requirement? I don't know what they're envisioning, what adequately staffed means. Conceivably, they could argue 1 person is adequately staffing it. So I think we ought to try to put a mandatory 2 people in. Oh, if you can.
Well,
get,
Barb's going to communicate.
Okay, if you can get that.
But they run other transfer stations. I mean, I would think they would know what's adequate.
Well, you know,
We've always been
No in
told that
town.
it was impossible to run with only 1 person.
No, well,
adequate is a wishy-washy word that you're going to have a
What
lawsuit.
page are all these
the
changes on?
1-person thing was for
She
safety.
didn't find the copy that she sent just recently, an hour before the meeting. So I don't know that you have it, Barb.
She has
The
it.
1-person was for safety
Print it
concerns.
out,
Yeah, it's printed and you all have it.
the newest one?
She printed it out.
Yeah, I
It's
got it
here,
about
it's with her.
6:30. But I just want to make sure that I know what I'm telling her to change.
Right, we want to put in that at all times they should have 2 people. Now, my understanding is it will operate on Saturdays, and during certain summer months, it will operate on Thursday for a couple of hours. I think it's what, May through August?
Yeah, the end of August, 4 to 7 p.m.
Right, and I gather you wrestled with them, and this was the best you could do on the 2nd day that it's seasonal. Did
Well,
you wrestle?
We wrestled. There were many things we wrestled on. This was probably,
2 people to operate.
this was a full Nelson. I mean, so I don't know what else to say.
And then I guess they can have up till 10 truck trips a day on Old Stone Church Road. Again, my understanding from you, Bruce, is that they're not going to truck anything in, that this will be trucking out. And if the contract could make that clear, that they're only trucking out of the transfer station waste products. And the last thing, and I'm assuming, Bruce, you're still going to stay liaison, I think it's very important that we take a lot of photographs at the time we turn it over to them, and that we don't lose the photographs, as one of my former clients recently did. But that's our proof of the condition that they're taken over. And periodically, we should take pictures up there as to the condition. If we see problems up there, we ought to take pictures of it so we have written proof if we ever get into a fight over who polluted the ground.
Right.
So
Okay.
And
that's
are we-
all I have.
I just wanted to make sure that we're still going to be able to use that as a possible storage place for files or office stuff.
Yeah, the middle bay and upstairs, they've agreed that we get that. And, you know, we still need to talk about it, but the middle bay can have another floor built into it for very little money.
And you'll have access to that?
Yeah.
At times when they're not there?
Right.
Okay,
We're the ones
good.
that provide the keys, so
Okay.
we'll have that. We'll also be making use of some of the electricity.
So at some point soon, we'll have to have a discussion as to what we do with the forklift and what we do with the truck.
Right.
All right. You have to come up to the microphone. You need to come up to the microphone.
I thought I could speak loud enough. I just have a question. People that have leftover garbage bags, is the town going to reimburse them? Are they going to be able to return the garbage bags since we can't use them any longer?
I
Or is there
have
gonna
to
be
work
some-
it out with them, but I believe we'll honor them.
Okay.
And I don't know how many you have, but you have
A half a
good
dozen at
month.
least.
Yeah. you've
Yeah,
got
a good month is a
and-
week. August 1st they're taking over. Today's the 23rd of
No, I thought it was
July.
August 31st.
That's not what Nancy
August
Cunningham said
1st.
this morning.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
When are the signs going to go up as to the new hours? I hope they're going to go up very soon.
Well, after tonight, we'll know whether we're cutting to the new hours or not. We'll get this out.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we have much choice.
I think it's a,
Heinz Sauer, Stortini Drive. I'd like to know what the anticipated consummation date is of that contract?
It's supposed to start August 1st.
August 1st.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have it on. We'll have the hours on the website. It was a question.
should we vote?
I don't know.
Is there a motion?
I think we had a motion. We're having a discussion, so we can vote now. But we have to do the EAF thing
We've got the
first, don't we?
seeker that we have to do first.
Let's do the seeker part first. The one comment on the seeker was the truck traffic. We were worrying about that. And there were two things. First one is the way we're set up now, it's conceptually 8 trucks a day because we have 4 different types of bins. And the other thing was that the 10 that was in here was a maximum anticipated. And it also, that 10 was arrived at when we thought we were going to possibly do the recyclable transfers in there, and we're collecting those, and the food composting. We've since found out that we can't do those things because our permit doesn't allow that to happen. So this is just kind of a high-end number. And like Joe said, I don't believe that we'll ever hit it, but that's what it is. And the other thing with this is we have the exit clause in this, if anything, if we need to get out of this in some way.
Change our permit or request a different permit so we can do food recycling?
Yeah, we can. We actually had a full-blown transfer station. You could do anything, everything kind of permit, and somehow it lapsed. And we went to the residential thing, which is very simple. We could change it, but I'm not. You know, the way the board reacted when we floated that, it didn't seem like it was worth pursuing at the time.
I think the recycling of food is huge.
Well, I think so too, and I think it's a great opportunity, especially in this area. But I think that's something we can work out with the licensee in the future. So.
But this is a 3-year contract?
It's 3 years, but as Bruce said, we can cancel it on 90 days' notice.
Give them a new one.
What?
Give them a new one if we wanted to change it, or cancel it completely.
Right, right. My experience, though, is those things are more for comfort because as a practical matter, are we really going to get back into the business of operating a transfer station? In theory, yes, we can. Practically, I doubt it.
How about 11B, anything with that? What was that B? Anything else with secret?
Well, I went through all of the seeker stuff with Pam, and the only real issue that was the concern was the traffic, and we talked through that, and we don't think that that's an issue. And, you know, the other thing was Joe and I were worried about the noise, and these are not, you know, garbage trucks. They're going to be compacting and picking up in front of somebody's house. If they load and unload, it's going to be up at the transfer station. So, yeah, I think we can.
So we're voting on whether to authorize Tom to sign contract in substantially the form presented to us.
First, we need to authorize him to sign the short EAF, listing it as an unlisted action.
Right.
So I make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the short EAF.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye. And have we voted on authorizing supervisor to sign the...
Well, there's 4 things we have to vote on.
Okay.
Let's go them in order.
Make a motion that this is a secret negative deck, neg deck.
Second, or make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So moved. Item 3 is the resolution for secret.
Motion,
Second.
authorized.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So moved. And item D is the resolution to authorize contract in substantially the same form as attached. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's so moved. Barb, I want to ask you, I'm sorry, because we have secret involved, is there any roll call requirement with that, or no?
There's a roll call on,
But if it was unanimous,
yeah, we have 11C was a roll call, so I'll just,
Should we roll call it? You want to go back and roll call it
if
for
you
you?
look in the packet, 11C is a roll call.
Yes, it is.
there's 2 of them.
And D. There's 2? Yeah, there's 2.
You're going to miss yelling at us about not looking at our packets.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get these till 6:30, so I'm a little confused.
Yeah,
So
the secret resolution and the authorization are
So
both.
I'll just fill in, everybody voted aye, right?
It's a unanimous.
Right, all in favor, aye. It's good.
Well, congratulations. That's good work, Bruce. A lot of work.
Well, we all were in it together, and we're getting there.
Bruce and I are going to be working at the transfer station.
Yeah, if we have a pullout.
Transfer Zumba.
Well, if he can't get the requirement in of at least 2 people, maybe you 2 can volunteer to be there.
Item 12 is motion to approve the June 25th, 2012 Town Board meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Item 13 is motion to appoint Linda Murray to the Recreation Committee, term to expire
Motion.
12/31/13. All in favor, aye?
Oh, and I just
I have
wanted
a-
to ask a question. Bruce, on this, it looked like from the listing of people on the committee that it's very small. How many members do you have, and should we look for more members for that committee?
Well,
'Cause
we
spend
average-
a lot of money on rec.
What current members do we have now, Bruce?
Tom Connolly, Brandon Coffey,
I'm
No,
sorry, I
not
can't
Brandon
hear you,
Coffey.
Barbara.
Dave Miller.
David Miller, Tom Connolly,
there's
Joe Kupiak,
Kupiak, there's 3.
and me.
Yeah, there's just 3.
And Rhonda had gotten off when that thing had, with that one.
The
But
thing.
now she's taking her break and coming
Oh, wait a
back.
minute, she's no longer a member, but,
So she's coming back.
Right, she's coming back, and Linda wants to get on it. And we've been advertising for rec members for years.
No, it's great. You're just going to get somebody on there. Let me just, this is another process question. What is our process for getting on board, since every board or committee every committee is looking for members? So people send in their applications and the liaison meets with them and then we put them forth. Is that how it works?
We typically do. Sometimes there's an opposition to wanting to let somebody on without talking to them, and that's happened in the past, so we'll just hold it over until that happens. So, not an opposition, but not just
a question.
A question, right.
But does the liaison even meet with them? I didn't know that was something.
Well, I thought we interviewed board appointments.
Not committees, just boards?
Town
That's
board.
what I'm clarifying.
The town board interviews.
Well,
board
zoning
members,
board,
right.
planning board,
Right.
the conservation advisory board. That's why I'm clarifying it, so.
The applications for committees are on the web. They can download them or pick them up here in the office.
People apply, the liaison meets, if the liaison approves or agrees, he or she puts them forward, and we appoint. Boards are a different matter. We interview board members. Okay, I just wanted to
Well, I don't think the
clarify.
liaison has a veto power, that we should get the application, and the liaison can talk in favor or not, but there shouldn't be any blockage as to what comes before the board by a liaison. So
Yeah,
that
I don't think that happened.
yeah, I would hope it doesn't, right. I think Barbara's practice is that every application that comes in.
I didn't say, did I say veto?
Oh, okay, I thought you said that the liaison has to report it to the board.
I thought the liaison brought them forth and put it on the agenda.
But if the liaison doesn't, it still,
Can go on the agenda.
yeah.
Okay, great.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Item 14 is a motion to appoint Rhonda Hammond to the Recreation Committee.
Motion.
Second.
Term to expire 12/31/15. Motion?
Aye. Oh,
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
So
We
moved.
should have a full board.
Item
So you
15 is
did
a
good,
motion.
you got 2 members, that's great.
Item 15 is a motion to set the August 20th as a special town board meeting for executive session. Purposes to discuss a personnel issue.
It's actually a potential executive session, correct?
Right.
August 20th, Joe, is that good for you?
Looking at my calendar.
Having to do with the clerk's position. If
Well, I don't think it should be limited. I think there are other personnel issues that we may want to address.
Well, that's fine, I was just saying why it got on the agenda.
Right, that's Monday. What time is that going to be? Should we make that earlier? If we're going to look at applications, we probably ought to, and discuss them, we probably ought to start as early as we can.
How early do you guys want to meet? 3, 2?
Yeah, 5? Oh, no, that's the 20th.
No, it's a Monday.
That's Monday.
I'm in the wrong month here. Oh, yeah.
5 o'clock, can we do, Tom, can you do earlier,
I don't know yet.
or? Okay, so let's set it for 5, and,
So if there's any other items, we should probably be prepared to list them before we go into executive session. Okay? So
Thank you.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It's so moved. Item 16 is a motion to approve the following resolution for the New York State retirement system. Is this
The
something?
retirement system requires appointed and elected people that are on the state retirement system to give us a work log. So that was these people that are listed here, and it has to be submitted to the retirement system, and it has to have your approval, and then it has to be posted on the web. And all these people have turned in logs. So I will send it up to the retirement if,
Well, let's have a motion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
abstain, right?
And then Barb, how does your retirement impact you being listed on this?
Because I'm appointed, all appointed and elected people who are in the
No,
retirement
I
system.
understand
It's
that,
for
but it
this
goes
year,
through
Gina.
It's for this year.
12-13.
She's leaving it, it's,
Well, I'm still here. I don't have to do a log, actually, because I'm on the time
No,
clock.
I understand that. I'm just saying it's got the dates down till 12/31/13.
well, she,
So that's the term. Got it. Okay. Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Any opposition? Opposed?
No.
Well, so moved.
should I abstain? Do I vote for myself? Did we vote?
Yep.
Okay.
Item 17, the CAB is requesting that Rhinebeck High School student as a student liaison member to their board.
Motion.
Second.
I think this is great, and do you know how you're going to find that?
I do, I have notes here somewhere. Bob Donaldson, who's the liaison, the CAB liaison to the, oh, would you like to speak about it? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't do it. I forgot, we were going to call each other. Yeah.
I think it's great.
Bob Donaldson, Conservation Advisory Board. Back in April, I visited the high school and I spoke with Amy Christie, who's the advisor to the Environmental Club. And at that time, one of the students expressed an interest about serving as a student rep on the Conservation Advisory Board. I went back to the board and spoke to the members. Everybody was in favor. In fact, a few years ago, a student did serve as a student representative when it was the Conservation Advisory Council. I've spoken to Ed Davenport, and he spoke with Joe Phelan, and the school district is on board. There would be no problems with having a student serve in that capacity. And with that, we'd like to know how we can, facilitate this. What does the board would like? Would you like to meet the student? A student has expressed an interest. Her name is Zoe Ettinger. And, whatever we can do to facilitate it. Would you like to meet her?
I think fill out the form just like everyone else.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I think the school should pick who they want. If there's more than one applicant, you decide who you want to be the
Okay.
liaison.
At this time, only one student,
Okay.
from the Environmental Club has expressed an interest,
Great,
and that
okay.
is Zoe.
And then just submit the application, and we'll just approve it.
I'll put it
Well,
on the.
It's a liaison. It's
I
not
think
really-
this kind of, in lieu of it, this is sort of how we're doing it. I put it on the agenda. It's a unanimous recommendation from the CAB, and we'd like to have her start if we can.
So is it it's a liaison, basically?
Yes.
Not a board member, or?
No.
Okay,
Not a
No,
problem.
Okay.
a liaison.
okay.
Well, it says /member.
Member on here, yeah.
That was
Okay.
Good, like it.
Good.
great, thank you. Oh, yeah.
Item 18 is motion to approve resolution authorizing a settlement for a tax tertiary proceeding for Davis and Patrick at 19 Cove Road. Motion and second.
I
Motion.
think this is a...
Second.
I think this
Discussion.
is a roll call.
It's a roll,
It's in your packet.
Discussion.
there's no roll call on that.
By roll call, Supervisor Aye, Councilman Washburn,
Aye.
Councilperson Fox,
Aye.
Councilperson Spenzia,
Aye.
and Council Gelb.
Aye.
So moved. Item 19 is a motion to approve the Thompson Mazzarella Park change order number 4 from Weston Sampson for soil borings for $4,800 and authorize the supervisor to sign said contract amendment. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Any
Right,
discussion?
what this is we're getting ready to put in roadways and excavate for water lines and so on. And what they're doing with this is seeing what route makes the best sense, because we're afraid we're going to run into rock in some places. So this is what the soil boring is. It's just part of, it's like the perk test we did last month for the ADA field house thing.
And this was in the budget,
No, this is,
or it's covered in?
it'll be covered out of the capital for the TMP, but this is a change order to the contract because they're set to do design and permitting. They specifically weren't supposed to do this. or it wasn't included. So that's why we're doing it with a change order with this.
So is there money in there, or will
Yeah, the money's
we have to
there.
transfer? Okay.
Okay.
I still don't understand though, just, does the Thompson Mazzarella Park as a group just get to decide things on their own, or are we supposed to approve them before these are approved?
The committee comes up with recommendations of what's supposed to be done. And then when it's time to spend money, I bring it to the board to get approval to release the money. That's how we've been doing it. We haven't been spending any, you mean as far as spending goes?
Yeah, like this hasn't already been contracted, is that correct, or
Right.
has it?
No, it hasn't. That's why we're
That's
covering
what
under
we're
a
doing.
change order.
All right, good.
Any further,
Thanks, Bruce.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. That's it for actions. We have a discussion. Item 1 is the employee performance evaluation forms.
All right, I mean, I hadn't done anything with this. Joe, you were going back to Michael, asked him how they were used. We'd had some discussion about it, and you wanted to find out how Michael Richardson was suggesting that we use these, is my recollection from the last meeting.
Yeah, your recollection may be correct, but I didn't do it. I guess my concern with this is that I'd like to see for each person for whom we're going to fill out one of these forms, who's going to do it, what group of people are involved in the process, because I've seen situations where people don't want to offend another person. So everything comes back glowing, you've built up a record, and
Right.
then if you want to take any action, you're hung by your own good reports. So one, I think we got to be careful. And two, again, I want to see who's going to do the evaluations. Clearly, where we have a structure within a department, that's a lot easier. Where there is no structure, like building inspector, zoning enforcement officer, town clerk, it gets dicey as to who's going to do it. So if we could get some kind of schedule as to who the evaluators would be.
Okay, I'll do that.
You want to, Bruce?
I'll
I'm
do
happy
that.
to do it.
Bruce, you had a lot on your plate.
You sure, Bruce? I'm happy to take all the
you wanna do it?
employees
That's fine.
and pick who I think maybe would be the people and ask them, or figure out.
You don't have to ask them. Present it to us first.
No, of course. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking about this was, we really don't have any formal, systematic way of providing feedback to the employees, good, bad, indifferent,
No, I think
areas for improvement. And I think,
we need to do it.
yeah, so we need to figure out how to do this in some form and something that's reasonable and useful. So you got that? Okay, thanks, Gina.
The other thing I think we ought to consider is upward evaluations, that it might be useful to get feedback from staff as to how we're doing.
We can make that part of this evaluation. It's part of the supplement.
Wow. That's fair.
That's
I know.
bold.
You fill them out all the time.
Exactly.
I do
Kind of the
think
safe-
Michael
safe
Richardson
place to
sent
put.
us back an email saying how he has seen these used in the past.
Right.
I'll send it in case.
Okay, maybe I did ask them then.
I think you did, and I said, well, I think Joe's the one
Yeah.
that's got something there, so I
I'll
didn't do
use
it.
that for my pulling together this thing. Okay.
When you ask Michael Richardson these things, does he get charged? Does he pay us charges for those things, or no?
Yeah, and he's, on the retainer, he said that if it's a simple email with a question that he can dispose of in 5-10 minutes, he doesn't charge. both for telephone calls and for emails. That's what he says. We've been looking at his bills. You know, I don't see any specific line items like that, so.
Well, I haven't seen, I mean, I've seen his bill, but it's not itemized like our attorneys are, and that's one of my concerns too.
Right, I think he gives us the hours, but we certainly can clarify that with him, and we could send him an email just to confirm that.
The next one I'm going to do from the tube, so do you want to go to the other ones where we're sitting at the table and I can do that one? You wanna
Sure.
Yeah.
Skip and then end with that?
Yeah.
And with the big presentation?
Skipping item 2, going to item 3, replacement of the inverters at the highway garage.
What this is apparently the company that put up the equipment on the highway garage is that equipment should communicate with the manufacturer 24/7 if one of the panels is not working. That's the theory, instant communication. The manufacturer has come back and said some of the panels are not communicating 24/7. They are communicating periodically, but they're not communicating as anticipated. We have 200 panels and 100 inverters, so one inverter for 2 panels. The inverter changes the power that's generated from DC to AC. The manufacturer wants to replace 100 of the inverters with 200 inverters of a different model with a longer warranty period. This is at no charge to the town. The manufacturer will pay the cost for the installer to install it. Beside a longer warranty, we're going from 15 to 25 years. We have been told that the power generation should increase by, a number was thrown out, of 15%. And that's because there's less wiring between the panel and the inverter. And the longer that connection, the more DC power is lost. Since we did not have any idea that there was a problem, I did ask, how can we tell in the future that there's a problem? We're not relying on the manufacturer to inform us. And I was told that we could tell by our monitoring of the settings on the website for the power, that if the screen is blank, that means there is a problem. So that's how we can tell in the future. The replacement will happen when the weather gets a little bit cooler. It will take about a week, and it sounds like, as our contractor says, a win-win situation for us because we get better inverters, a longer guarantee, and he gets a week's worth of work paid for by the manufacturer. So I'm just informing the board that we will see people up on the highway department roof for about a week when the weather gets a little bit cooler.